Hi, I'm Robbie Lawler.
What's up, Fight Family? This is your favorite MMA coach, Thiago Alves, the Pitbull.
Hey, what's up, guys? I'm Pedro Munoz.
Mike Brown.
Guys, I am Alexei Olenik. And welcome.
And welcome.
And welcome.
And welcome.
And this is We Want One Picks.
And you're watching We Want Picks.
To We Want Picks.
We Want Picks.
To We Want Picks.
To We Want Picks. Hi, everybody from American Top Picks.
My name's Angelo, and welcome to We Want Picks. Jacob and I are going to break down the entire UFC Vegas 58 fight card. We're going to give you our picks, our bets, and our fantasy plays. And we're coming off an incredible week. Crushed bets, crushed picks. I only got one single pick wrong, and that's because all of a sudden Julius Stoliarenko is shooting double legs like an NCAA national champion. And if you want 50 free bucks, go to WeWantPicks.com/bets. Sign up with any one of our 5 betting partners. Make a deposit, and we send you $50 as a thank you. That's WeWantPicks.com/bets. We have 5 betting partners. Every single one of them offers their own promos, their own matches, their own giveaways. And then on top of that, we'll send you $50. PayPal, Cash App, Venmo, however you want it.
Whose hand's bigger, you think?
Yeah, no, definitely yours.
Put your hand up here.
Okay. The that paper, I'm trying to like.
I know. Look at those calluses, though, man. Those are man hands.
God. Yeah,
those are man hands.
Okay, even with all the lotion. Anyway,
I was gonna say they're not on my right hand. It's just my right hand.
It was an interesting card. Some interesting fights, weird outcomes. We had the no contest, the Sean Strickland flatlining. The main event was kind of boring. Co-main was entertaining, but I'm glad it was pretty one-sided. Weird card. I have drank heavily Saturday, Sunday, Monday. I'm in a little bit of a mood, but we'll get this going. Any words before we jump in?
Well, I just realized that I don't know in our intro video if any of those fighters have won. I think every single fighter in the intro has lost their last fight.
Did
he win his last fight?
He sure did, Jared Vanderaa.
Oh, my God. We got $20 off the rip.
Right out of the gate, Gabriel Reina, $20 super chat. Let's get it, Gabriel. We appreciate you. Thank you very much. That is incredibly appreciated. And I just mentioned I'm hungover, I'm tired, and the rejuvenation that came with that super chat. Thank you very much. Very, very appreciated, Gabriel. And let's jump right in. Opening up a pretty good fight night. We got Ronnie Lawrence taking on the tongue twister of a name, Sideshow Bob Kakhramonov.
Saidyokub.
Ronnie Lawrence is 8-1 overall, 5-0 in his last 5. He's coming off an incredible fight with Manny Martinez. Saidyokub Kakhramonov is 9-2 overall.
Did I hear a kebab?
Oh, it's the Freudian slip in there. 9-2 overall, 4-1 in his last 5, and he's coming off a pretty impressive UFC debut. And Ryan Lawrence is a very good wrestler. He shoots and reshoots really well. He's athletic with solid footwork, and he uses leg kicks as well. Look at his takedown numbers. They're absolutely insane. He averages more than 9 takedowns per 15 minutes. That literally might be the highest takedown percentage in the UFC. He has 3 fights in that UFC run of his, with 26 total takedowns and 78% takedown accuracy. That combination of numbers is insane. To have that many takedowns and be that successful with that many entries is absolutely ridiculous. Kakhramonov was supposed to fight Brian Kelleher in January, but that fight was scrapped. He only has 1 fight in the UFC, and that was a full year ago, but it was very impressive. He submitted Trevin Jones in the 3rd round. Style-wise, he's very well-rounded. He's comfortable on his feet. He's got a quick jab. He's got a good amount of low kicks, but those are mostly there just to gauge distance. I would label him as a striker, but he has very good takedown defense and a solid submission offense as well. And Ronnie Lawrence, I mentioned he's coming off that incredible win over a very dangerous Manny Martinez, where even though he had 6 takedowns in that fight, he was dropped a few times. I think Kakhramonov is the cleaner striker. He's definitely going to be faster, but he does slow down as the fight goes on, especially if he's getting taken down. If you go to his PFL loss, He was controlled, and he even lost a few of those striking exchanges against a wrestler. So I got to go with Ronnie Lawrence here. I think his relentless wrestling pressure is going to be the difference. He showed that he can survive a dangerous striker in those dangerous exchanges, and we know for a fact he can wrestle hard for 15 minutes. So Ronnie's the pick, and right out of the gate, I got a money line bet on him, but I'm getting a little nervous betting on the first fight of the night. I don't know how well those have been going. But that's the only bet I've missed in the last, 3 weeks. The only bet I've missed was on Jessica Rose Clark opening up the card. Hopefully that doesn't happen again. I do have that bet on Ronnie Lawrence. What do you think, Jakey boy?
Last week I hit the very first bet of the card with Stoliarenko inside the distance decisional action. Very easy money. I didn't trust Jessica Rose Clark the entire way. And this week, I'm going to hit an opening bet again, and I'm betting against you. I got Saeed in this fight, and I'll tell you why. Listen, Ronnie Lawrence is what he is. Extreme wrestler. The guy is very, very good at what he does. And he's actually a decent striker as well. I think he sat down Mano in that fight. Is it Mano? Mano? I think it's Mano, right?
Mana Martinez.
Mena. So he sat down Mena in that fight as well earlier on. He actually got in big trouble in that third round. I think he got a little bit overconfident. He had his hands a little bit low, and he found himself in some big issues in that third round. And I could see him finding some issues in this fight again as well. If he's able to get the takedowns, obviously that's his path to victory, and he should be able to win the fight. I don't think he can get the takedowns. If you watch Saeed, I'm just going to call him Saeed. If you watch Saeed's fight against Umar Nurmagomedov in the PFL, I think that's the one you were talking about. He is someone that actually looked... He made Umar look almost human. There's not very many people that have fought Umar to a point where he looks human. He finished a lot of people, and even the decisions, he usually dominates people. I think he took Saeed down one time, but it was like a caught knee or a caught kick that he took him down with. I don't think he got any other takedowns in the fight. And obviously, he won the decision. He did win the fight. I'm not saying that Saeed beat him in that fight in any means. But even that third round, Saeed sat him down and had him running away and shooting for takedowns for his life because he was in a little bit of trouble in that third round. And Saeed against Trevin Jones, that was a short notice fight. He kind of broke Trevin Jones down. Trevin Jones took the fight. Saeed was short notice, but Trevin Jones was a big favorite going into that fight and should have really kind of dominated that fight. And he kind of broke Trevin Jones down and ended up submitting him in the third round. In my mind, I see this fight like I saw the Aiemann and Gamrot fight with Ronnie Lawrence being Aiemann, the more kind of technical, one step at a time, boom, boom, to trying to get takedowns, where Gamrot is was the more explosive and the more dangerous grappler and also striker as well. I see the same type of matchup in this. I see Ronnie Lawrence as, if he can just grind this, slow it down, get him to the ground, he should be able to win. But we saw that with Gamrot. If you can't get him down, I think Saeed's going to be the more powerful striker. I don't know if Ronnie Lawrence can get into the ground because Umar was not able to. He's got great takedown defense. If he's able to win some scrambles as well, maybe he gets the top position. We've never really seen Ronnie Lawrence fight off his back. I just think that Saeed's a more dangerous guy in this matchup. And with that said, I got to go with the more dangerous guy. I put the money line bet on him already. I think I put 2 units on him at plus 120. It's starting to come down a little bit. I think it was plus 116 or something when I looked earlier today. I just think he's more dangerous. If you watch that Umar fight, you'll see what you're getting in Saeed in this matchup. So I understand Ronnie Lawrence, path to victory, the wrestling, boom, boom, chain wrestling. But I think Saeed's able to stuff it and really dominate the striking.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I hear that argument, but I've seen him lose to wrestlers before. That Umar fight was interesting because we know Umar's a fantastic wrestler, but if we go to the PFL loss, he lost to a wrestler, clearly lost to a wrestler. So maybe he made adjustments since then. Maybe the Umar fight was the fight of his life. I don't know. But you and I are split, opening up the card, split. DraftKings, I love Ronnie Lawrence. This dude scores 1,000,000 points in his fights. 5 points per takedown, averaging 9 takedowns in 15 minutes. I mean, this dude scores points. And I love that he's $8,400. So I get it. It's a close fight. Do you like Saeed enough to be on that side?
I think I might. I'll have to see how it kind of stacks up. I haven't built my lineup yet. Obviously, the wrestling the relentless wrestling from Ronnie Lawrence scares me a little bit, but I think Saeed's able to withstand those. So it just depends how my lineup stacks up. But I definitely see the value, definitely in the $8,400 for Ronnie if you think he's going to win. So
yeah, he scores a ton of points, and that's a fair price point. The Monkey Knife Fight strike line, if you don't know what Monkey Fight Knife Fight is, it's daily fantasy. It's daily fantasy. All you do is you look at these strike lines and you say more or less. And if you're right, you could triple your money. You want to string a bunch together, you can smash them together. 25 times your money. I do think this fight goes the distance. Neither one of these guys are like prolific finishers. Saeed, he hits a little harder. Definitely can get his hands going. But I think it's likely a decision. If it looks anything like the Gamrot-Arman fight, then they'll blow past this strike line. What do you think of the strike line?
Yeah, it's probably a more.
It probably is as well. I think they get after it. Check that out. WeWantPicks.com/MKF. If you sign up and make a deposit, they will instantly match that deposit. Give them $50, they'll give you 50. Give them 100, they'll give you 100. Take the free money, the free 100. Play some of these lines. And if you want 50 free bucks from us, all you need to do is go to WeWantPicks.com/bets. Sign up, make a deposit. We send you $50 as a thank you. And speaking of thank yous, Perry with the super chat. Perry said he won over $100 on Monkey Knife Fight last week. Happy 4th. Appreciate you, Perry. Thank you very much. And frankly, last week was a gold mine for Knockout Kings with the Alex Pajeda and the Jalen Turner. Both of them were in my Monkey Knife Fight, so that was a cash cow. And Bert MJ23 with the $7 super chat had a good payout this weekend. Thanks for the insight, fellas. Listen, you guys are very generous.
This is
today.
what we appreciate. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, you guys
makes
are
it all
very
worth it.
generous.
It brings a fucking tear to my eye, Angelo. I'll be honest with you.
You don't have to eat Lunchables for dinner anymore. We appreciate you. Thanks you, Bert. Thank you, everybody.
Honey, turn the lights on. Turn the lights on.
Honey, as soon as you said honey, everybody knew you were full of crap. But we appreciate you. Seems like everybody did pretty well this past weekend. So glad we could play any role in that whatsoever. Thank you very much.
Fantastic,
for
by the way.
The super
I hit
chats.
I think every single bet.
So you should be super chatting. Next up at UFC Vegas 58, we have Kennedy Nzechukwu taking on Karl Roberson. Kennedy Nzechukwu is 9-3 overall, 3-2 in his last 5, and he is riding a 2-fight skid there, and one of those losses were to Nick Negumereanu, and that's a fight that he should have won. Karl Roberson is 9-5 overall, 2-3 in his last 5, riding a 3-fight losing skid. And it's an interesting fight because both of these guys are really well skilled and they're likely fighting for their UFC careers. The loser of this fight will probably be cut. And historically, anytime you've heard me break down Kennedy Nzechukwu in the past, I would say he's the comeback kid because he had several fights where he was getting smoked and then that one big punch later in the fight got him that win and he was able to turn those tides, and he has not been able to do that in his last couple of fights. He's very long. He's got a ton of power. He's got solid takedown defense at 80%, and he's never out of a fight. He can be gun shy at times, and that's how he ends up falling behind. That's why he needed to rely on that big punch late in fights, is because he's not throwing anything, and he's just starting to lose the minutes. And he's on that 2-fight losing skid, but he did look really good in his last fight against Nick Negumereanu. He had a great jab. He used his reach really well, but unfortunately, he did have a point deduction because of an eye poke. Karl Roberson is also on a losing skid, but he also looks pretty decent in his last fight until he didn't, right? He was knocked out by Khalil Roundtree in the second round, but he won that first round, and he looks solid. He's a well-rounded guy with solid striking, a few sneaky submissions in his back pocket. The problem for him are his matchups. He has 5 losses in the UFC, which seems like a lot, but that was to Brendan Allen, Marvin Vettori, Glover Teixeira. These are just really tough fights against really tough guys, and he's just had some bad luck in that mix, I guess. But overall, he's a solid fighter, and he's pretty well-rounded. Kennedy is absolutely the more powerful striker in this matchup, but he can be gun-shy. He's taking his time to throw those punches, and that could give Karl the opportunities he needs to maybe work in a takedown. He does average less than 1 takedown per fight, but he game plans really well. And his takedowns, in the fights that he does have takedowns, it's against strikers. He made those adjustments, did what he was supposed to do, like against Kopylov, like Darren Stewart, like Ryan Spann. He does have a knockout loss to Khalil, and that does worry me, but I do think he gets it done here. I think he's the better all-around fighter. And while I think Kennedy will be more dangerous, and he will be dangerous the entire 15 minutes, I think Roberson just gets it done with cleaner technique. I do think he'll game plan really well. He will probably get a takedown or 2 in this fight. So I'm liking Karl Roberson in the underdog slot. What do you think, Jakey boy?
You thought he looked good in his last fight. Two judges disagree with you. They had Khalil winning the first round in that fight. I didn't think he looked bad, but he didn't look great. He did mention before that fight, I think it was a little short notice. I think he went to, was it James Krause? I think he switched camps or something and ended up with James Krause right before that fight. So it wasn't like a full training camp. And he said he really liked that camp. And he came out and looked, I guess, a little bit better, but, ended up happening what happened. So maybe a full camp there, if he stayed there, will help him out. Here's how I see this fight going, is whoever loses this fight is probably going to look really, really bad, because both these guys in losses seem to look like they just don't want to be there, have no idea what they're doing type of situation. And when you get two guys like that, one of these guys is going to look awful, and probably, as you mentioned, fighting for the UFC lives, probably going to get cut after this. This almost seems like one of those Karl Roberson fights where he just randomly shows up and wins and maybe looks great doing it. But, as far as like, what have you done for me lately? I know they're both coming off, losing streaks and stuff. But Kennedy, in that last fight, you mentioned it, he looked like he was a little bit more into it. He came out, he was definitely pushing forward to start. The corner eventually started yelling at him, like, continue to push forward, keep pushing forward, because he started getting off his back foot. But when he pushes forward with that length and with that jab snapping out there, he is a really good fighter, especially a kickboxer in general. And we actually saw that against in that Uberg fight. Now, Uberg kind of gassed himself out, but when he starts turning on the pace and the volume, he's a really, really good striker with that volume punching. And Karl Roberson's one of those guys that you can kind of push around. He will let you push him to his back foot and stay against the cage, and that's the exact fight that Kennedy wants to fight. He wants to push you forward, and if he's able to do that, if you let him do that and he's able to start getting off volume, that's when you're going to be in trouble, because he can lay on volume almost better than anyone in that light heavyweight division. So, Mr. Eye Poke Kennedy, he does that a lot. That's why he lost the points. It's not a great pick. I don't love the pick. If Karl Roberson comes through and looks fantastic and stays aggressive and knocks him out, I'm not going to be surprised. This is not a huge confident pick. I'm picking Kennedy, but I'm not like, oh yeah, hell yeah, he's going to win. I'm not going to put any money on him. I'm staying away from this with my money completely, but my pick is Kennedy for this fight.
There's a couple of guys on this card that are low volume, and there's nothing more frustrating than a talented low volume guy. Tresean Gore is one of them. We'll break him down a little bit.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because I was thinking right when you said that, I was like, oh, I know who you're talking about. No.
It's infuriating, because you can see you're better. What are you doing? Let your hands go. You're having success. Kennedy's one of those guys, and I'm starting to hate that stuff more and more. You bet on him, and you just don't feel like you're getting your money's worth.
Literally, like his last fight is Kenny's like, go forward, go forward, go forward. Like, what are you doing? And somebody mentioned, isn't Karl a kickboxer? He was a glory kickboxer. I think his record is 0-3.
Professional kickboxer.
Yeah, I think his record is 0-3 or 0-2. I know he lost to Dustin Jacoby at one point, but I think he literally is like 0-3 as a kickboxer. So yes and no.
Yeah, but he doesn't. Listen. It's a close fight. The odds reflect that. Everything about this is essentially a pick 'em, and I think it's exactly what we said. People are like, yeah, Kennedy's dangerous, but I can't necessarily trust him to let his hands go. Karl Roberson's definitely more well-rounded, but we just saw him be a little chinny, so who knows. But Jacob and I are split on this again. We've broken down 3 fights so far, and you and I only agree on 1.
Oh, wow. Just 2, I think, but go home, Queen.
What?
We've only broken down 2 fights. This is the second fight.
This is the second fight? Oh, my God.
Yeah,
We're disagreeing.
Wow.
I told you, I was drinking all weekend.
Apparently haven't done.
I should tie one on.
Do we want to start drug testing?
Okay, I'll pass a drug test, no problem. $8,200, $8,000 in DraftKings. I think Kennedy and Nzechukwu is worth the $8,200 more than Roberson the $8,000, because if Kennedy wins, it will be by knockout, and he will pay for himself. If Roberson wins, I think it's kind of he's just the more technical guy. I don't think there's a stoppage. It's actually a decent price point, $8,000. But unless I'm positive he's going to get those takedowns in the control time, I don't know if he's worth the $8,000. What do you think?
Yeah, I think between the two of them, the $8,200 is the better value, but they're not going to. I mean, there's no way I'm putting either one of these guys in my lineup.
Yeah, it's too close of a call. It's not like it was. Listen, with the Sean Strickland and Alex Pereira fight, where everybody was positive. They knew what side they were going to be on, and they were positive that person was going to win by knockout. And in all likelihood, one of them was going to win by stoppage. So you pick your side. Here, I don't think there's a stoppage. So it's probably kind of a sloppy decision. So DraftKings not going to touch it. The odds, pick your side. I think it's more and more in Monkey Knife Fight. Although Kennedy is a little gun shy. That gets frustrating, but I do think it's
Does not go the distance is minus 155. The over-under is at 1.5. Over 1.5 is minus 185.
yeah. So I don't even know, why do you make the line 1.5 if the over is going to be so, you know what I mean? Just make it 2.5.
There's a few of those. I was looking at a few of those, and I was like, 1.5, and I saw stuff like that. I'm like, you motherfuckers.
Just make it 2.5, and the odds will be a pick 'em instead. It doesn't make any sense to me. And unless I got to look at it, because maybe it opened with appropriate odds, and then people just pounded it. But anyway, I think more in the monkey knife fight. I think they will go at it. I think it'll be a little sloppy. It'll be a little bit of a longer fight, but I do think they'll get their strikes off. If you want to check that out, weontpicks.com/MKF. And if you want $50 for free, it's literally all you need to do. weontpicks.com/bets. Sign up with any one of our 5 betting partners. We send you $50 as a thank you after you make a deposit. weontpicks.com/bets. And speaking of talented gun-shy fighters, we've got Tresean Gore taking on Cody Brundage. Cody Brundage is 7-2 overall, 3-2 in his last 5, and he is alternating wins and losses. Tresean Gore, 3-1 overall, his entire career, 3-1. And he is coming off the first loss.
I'm undefeated, by the way. I noticed he has a loss. I've never lost, so.
Congratulations on all your success. Yeah, you threw me off. 3-1 overall, only 4 fights, and he is coming off the very first loss of his entire career. Cody Brundage, and he's coming off the first win of his UFC career, and that was a submission win over Dalcha Lungambula, where he jumped guillotine. And even though he couldn't get it going in the wrestling department, he does have solid wrestling, and he did wrestle in college. He's got decent chain-style wrestling, meaning he's going to shoot 1,000,000 takedowns, and he'll eventually get them. It's not just one single clean entry. He'll go from a single to a double, back to the single, and work from there. And he uses that wrestling really well, and he's got heavy punches to set up those takedowns. He pushes forward, but he can be chinny. I mentioned he submitted Dalcha in that last fight, but he was rocked a few times, and he was almost KO'd in that fight. Tresean Gore is a heavy-handed come-forward wrestler. Almost every fight he's in, he'll throw big, heavy punches, immediately drop to the legs. He never stops doing that. And he's interesting to break down because his pre-UFC fights and his current UFC fights are very different. He's got a different style. Pre-UFC, he would throw 3 or 4 punches, have solid volume, drop to the legs, work from there. If you stuff a takedown, he'll come back up, reset, do it again. His current UFC tenure, he's a clean striker. He's got very real power, solid combinations, but low volume. He's not letting his hands go. And this entire fight comes down to Tresean Gore. His pace, is he going to let his hands go? Because if the pre-UFC Tresean shows up, marching forward, throwing with intent, working the legs, that guy wins. That guy wins this fight every time. But if the Tresean Gore that lost to Brian Battle shows up because he was only throwing one shot at a time, he's going to lose this fight. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. I hate picking gun-shy fighters, but I am going to give him the benefit of the doubt because he's young. He's early in his career. There may have been some UFC jitters. There was a lot of pressure. First fight off The Ultimate Fighter. That was the real finale. I think there was a lot of the factors, and I think that might have been the issue because he was the better fighter versus Brian Battle. If he had a touch more volume, he wins that fight. So I think, Tresean's definitely the pick. He's proven to have power in his hands. Cody can be chinny. He's proven to have solid takedown defense. He defended 7 takedowns in that last fight, and that's where Cody's going to need to take it to win. So Tresean's the pick here. I'm not betting this fight, though, because I hate putting money on people that I'm not positive are going to fight for my money. What do you think? You reacted. Why?
I mean, because you have a D2 national qualifier in Cody Brundage that you are not picking. And this might be the first time, correct me if I'm wrong, chat. This might be the first time where we see wrestler versus striker. And Angelo did not go with the wrestler and Cody Brundage. I actually cannot believe that you didn't pick. Listen, I get it because Tresean Gore is definitely the more dangerous fighter in this matchup. They have not dropped the odds yet, but I have in my notes, make sure I get the inside the distance decisional action for Tresean Gore. I don't care what the odds are. He might get out wrestled for 3 rounds, but if he lands a shot on Cody Brundage, and there's people that land shots on Cody Brundage, he's a very hittable guy. You saw that in the last fight as well. Even when he's going for takedowns, you can still hit the guy and almost knock him out with elbows and punches. He was supposed to be the better wrestler. He was supposed to be the better wrestler
Jesus,
in the Maximov fight, and that guy absolutely dominated in that fight. He came in, almost got knocked out, find that Hail Mary guillotine in that last fight to win. With that said, I don't know if I can trust Tresean. Your breakdown was perfect. If Tresean Gore shows up and is aggressive, he should be able to flatline Cody. That's exactly what should happen. And that's where my money is going to go, is inside the distance for Gore, decisional action. But until I see him show up, and this is a guy that's very confident, by the way. Before his first UFC fight, he was like, I'm going to be the double champ. I'm going to win this division. I'm going to win the... Let's slowly roll. Let's pump the brakes a little bit. Let's get your first win. But I'm just going to go with Cody because I know what he is going to do. He is going to wrestle. He's going to try to wrestle. And if he's successful with it, he's going to win the fight. But Tresean Gore, I don't hate the pick for sure. He's got the power. He's got all the abilities in the world. If he shows up, he should knock out Cody. So my pick is Cody. But, I don't hate your pick at all with Tresean.
Yeah, I mean, the Dalcha fight was interesting because he pulled off the guillotine, but he was heading down a bad path. And the only reason he got the guillotine is because Dalcha shot a double like an idiot. Why are you taking shots, dummy?
Well, Dalcha got so tired trying to putting that dude out there that Dalcha was like, all right, let me get my own takedown and catch my breath. And it was like a lazy shot, and Cody was like, whoops.
Yeah,
found
exactly.
that. So.
And he pulled guard. He jumped guillotine, which is always stupid. What's not stupid, though, is Josh Locks with the $20 super chat. Josh, my man, pots and pans, thank you very much. He said, killed it with his lock of the week last Saturday. 10-0 with bets. Let's keep the ball rolling. Congratulations on all your bets.
I'm trying to remember who it was.
We'll find out in your lock of the week video. But thank you, Josh, very, very much. You are very appreciated. You're a member. You're always in the comment section. You're not an angry little dwarf like half the people in the comment section. So
like
I appreciate
Oliver.
you. Thank you for
Sorry, Oliver.
This super
is Oliver
chat.
still? I don't think he's. Oh yeah, I think he is in here.
Thank you for the super chat. Very, very appreciated. Let's talk about. Oh, I didn't change this stuff for you. Oh well, we'll leave that there. Here's the stats.
Oh, never mind. I saw the 75-inch reach. That's a 3-inch reach advantage for Gore. So I'm going to change my pick to Tresean Gore. 3-inch reach advantage. That dictates the fight.
This is what I wanted to highlight. 25% takedown accuracy for Cody. 25%. He's just diving at legs.
Well, that's tough. Well, those stats are tough because that was against Nick Maximov, and Maximov knows what he's doing in the wrestling and the grappling.
Tresean Gore's a wrestler too, though. Not nearly the same level, but he is also a wrestler with a wrestling background. Not nearly the same level. DraftKings, 7,900, 8,300. I do think this is a fight where you pick your side because Cody Brundage will work for your $7,900, and if he gets some takedowns, those will rack up. He'll get control time in. And he could be worth it. And Tresean Gore, $8,300. You think he's going to get a knockout? How could you not? How could you not get over 100 points with an $8,300 fighter? You agree?
Yeah, this is definitely pick your side. I'll probably have Cody in mind, but I'm gonna be scared. I'm gonna be scared.
Yep. And then Monkey Knife Fight 47-79. I don't love it. 79 for a guy as gun shy as he is. He may be defending takedowns. I'm not touching it.
Like 80-some punches in his last fight.
Yeah,
I'm
not
even landed.
I'm not going to touch it. I'm not going to, because Cody seems low, and I don't like splitting. I don't want to say more on Cody.
Yeah, he landed 86. He threw 126.
Yeah,
I was looking at significant strikes, but total strikes was 86. So I think it's gonna be defending takedowns though. It's either gonna be an early knockout or defending takedowns. I think it's probably a more or less. Is that what you said? I don't know.
I think it is more or less, but I hate splitting, but I think it's more or less. If you guys are confident, weonpicks.com/MKF. They will instantly match your deposit. And if you want 50 free dollars, weonpicks.com/bets. Sign up, make a deposit, and we send you $50 as a thank you. And speaking of thank you, Lymph, $2 super chat. Thanks for the content.
Well,
Nick
don't read
Gurr
that.
versus Neek Ga.
Well, you should have read that.
I should not have read that. Jesus Christ. All right. I
That's
return the
totally.
super chat. Take your money back. Super chat is returned. And I will proofread comments before they are read on these. Thank God I enunciated. Holy crap.
I said don't read that. I'm not trying to interrupt you.
I don't listen to half the crap you say, but thank God I said all the letters. All right. Next up at UFC Vegas 58, we have Antonina Shevchenko taking on Cortney Casey. Antonina Shevchenko is 9-4 overall, 2-3 in her last 5, riding a 2-fight skids. Cortney Casey 10-9 overall, 2-3 in her last 5, coming off her first win in 2 years. And Antonina Shevchenko is the older sister of champion Valentina Shevchenko, but they are not similar at all. They are both competent strikers, but Antonina has some very real gaps in her grappling and almost no takedown defense whatsoever. She's been taken down 16 times in 8 fights, and every single one of her losses was because of her takedown defense. She's a very solid striker with clean technique and a solid pace. When she knows she won't get shot on, she will put on a show. But when she's worried about the takedown, she ends up being gun shy and hesitant because she doesn't want to overcommit and be flat in her ass. Cortney Casey's a good striker with solid grappling. She has power in her hands and she uses range really well. Even though she is 6-8 in the UFC, she's competitive in almost all of those fights, and she's incredibly tough. For the most part, she can win a technical striking fight and pose threats on the ground if she's on top. And I say if she's on top because she has a miserable takedown offense at 27%, and she has not gotten a takedown in 4 years. If Cortney Casey had a touch better, wrestling, and her wrestling was a little more solid, this would be an easy pick. But without the takedown, she's just going to end up in a kickboxing match. And even though she's a decent striker, she's not going to be the better striker in this matchup. She does have some things going for her, though. She's got raw power. She's got solid experience. I mentioned she has 8 losses in the UFC, but those are to J.J. Aldrich, Jillian Robertson, Cynthia Calvillo, Michelle Waterson, Felice Herrig in 2017 when Felice was still good, Claudia Gadeja. So that's a lot of losses, but they're quality losses. And she has beaten some solid people like Angela Hill and Ronda Marcos, who are not in the top 10, but those are solid fighters. This is a tough pick because I think it does stay on the feet. So I'm going to need to go with the better striker, and that is Antonina. But this is another no-bet fight because I think Antonina wins a striking match, but Cortney Casey will be live. The only bet I will entertain here is a +3.5. Where Cortney Casey, I'm buying a round on the judges' scorecard. If she can get a wrestling going in 1 round, then she can take that round. I bought another one, and then I'll hit my bet. I don't know what those odds are yet. The odds
They're not live yet.
They're all right. So when they drop that prop, I will take a look. And if it's under -200, I'll probably hop on that. The only place you're going to get that, the buy a round bet, the only place you're going to get that is if you go to weonpicks.com/bets. We have 5 partners. The one and only partner that literally lets you buy points on a judge's scorecard is BetOnline. So if you jump in through our link and you sign up and make a deposit, we will send you $50 as a thank you. Shevchenko's the pick. I may do that bet on Cortney Casey. Jakey boy, what do you think?
Yeah, Shevchenko's probably going to be the pick in this matchup. Cortney Casey, if she wants to win this matchup, she's probably got to keep this at really a kickboxing length, because if you start getting in that Muay Thai style length, that's where Shevchenko really shines. I know she's a kickboxer, but her and her sister really love that Muay Thai. Get in, make it dirty. She can have some throws from there. I know that she kind of struggles in the wrestling herself, but if she ends up on top, she's in a good position. We've seen Cortney Casey struggle when she's on the bottom. She actually, against Casey O'Neill, speaking of Shevchenko, in her last fight, had Casey O'Neill in a little bit of trouble. And Casey O'Neill is supposed to run through Shevchenko. Shevchenko, I think, hip tossed her or something happened in a scramble, and Shevchenko ended up, I think, in like a full mount position or had her back or something early on. She ended up losing the fight, obviously, but that was a good moment for her. She's a good kickboxer. She's going to be the better striker in this matchup. If she wants to take it to the ground and end up on top, I think she can win that fight there as well. If you're Cortney Casey, you got to keep a distance and try to point your way to a victory. And against Shevchenko with her striking, I just don't think that she's able to do that. So I think Shevchenko is probably the pick in this matchup. But I tell you what, I'm done putting. I haven't done it lately in a long time, but I'm done putting money on girl fights pretty much all together. It's girl fights and heavyweight fights. I'm done completely. putting money on. Don't let me put money on anyone that's a female or over 205 pounds, please. But the pick is Chevy.
Yeah, the only bet I've lost in 3 weeks was Jessica Rose Clark. And that fight is similar to this one. Jessica Rose Clark was the better striker. Everyone was like, oh, you can't trust her. She might grapple. I was confident she wasn't going to grapple, and she didn't grapple. But her opponent, Julia Stoliarenko, who had a 12% takedown accuracy, 12%, shot a blast double up the middle like she's been wrestling her entire life. That is the concern here, the exact same concern, because Courtney Casey, only a 27% takedown accuracy. But when you know that all you need to do is get a takedown to win the fight, maybe she's wrestling like an absolute queen all day, every day, and she might blow right through her with a couple of takedowns. So Shevchenko is the pick, and again, I am going to entertain that plus 3.5 bet if Courtney could get some wrestling going in one or multiple rounds. $8,700 in DraftKings? Absolutely not. I think she wins. I don't think there's a stoppage. She's not going to flatline Courtney Casey. So she's not going to be worth that money. You're agreeing?
Goes the distance, minus 190.
Yes, I'm not paying $8,700 for a million jabs. $7,500 on Courtney Casey. Listen, if you're confident she'll get her wrestling going, she's 100% worth it. I just don't know if she can, so I'm not touching them in my draft. And honestly, this is a tough week. There's only 11 fights. There's only 22 fighters. So I can't keep passing on everybody.
Oh, no, there's 11 now.
There's 11. There was 13. Now we're down to 11. Monkey Knife Fight Strike Line. I think it's, 92 is so high for Courtney Casey.
69.
There you go. I do think it's more and more. I think it's more and more. I think this fight goes to a decision. If Courtney works in a takedown, she'll get to that 92. So I think it's more and more. I think there'll be lots of strikes back and forth. So Monkey Knife Fight, more and more. WeOnPicks.com/MKF. They will instantly match your deposit up to 100 smackaroos. Next up, at UFC Vegas 58, we have Aiemann Zahabi taking on Ricky Turcios. Aiemann Zahabi, 8-2 overall, 3-2 in his last 5, and he is making a return after more than a year away. Ricky Turcios is 11-2 overall, 3-2 in his last 5, and he's coming off a split decision win about 8 months ago. Aiemann Zahabi is Firas Zahabi's brother. Firas, if you don't know, was George St. Pierre's coach. And at one point, he was one of the best coaches in MMA, or at least regarded as such. So Aiemann has been around top-level talent from that gym and high-level coaching the entirety of his career. Style-wise, he's pretty well-rounded, but he's more of a striker. He can be low volume at times, but we do know he has big power. He put Draco Rodriguez out with an overhand right in a fight where he literally only threw a few punches to begin with. He's got solid takedown defense at 73. What?
From hell. I mean, he put him out. He put him. Draco was like, what the fuck?
No, he definitely let him out. He only threw, but he wasn't throwing any punches. No punches, no punches, no punches. Boom, giant overhand right. He has solid. Aiemann has solid takedown defense at 73%, but he was taken down by Ricardo Ramos 3 times in that loss and twice in a win against Reginaldo Vieira. So the only reason he won the decision against Reginald is because he got a knockdown, but he was out-grappled in that fight, and he was going to lose a decision. Ricky Turcios is very fun to watch. He's got a crazy style. He moves forward with a ton of pressure, an insane variety of strikes. He'll throw anything from anywhere, and he's going to smile while he's doing it. He's coming off a split decision over Brady Heistand, where he landed 200 strikes, even though he was taken down 6 times. So this dude spent 7 minutes and 40 seconds being controlled, and he still landed 200 strikes. That's just, honestly, that's insane. More than half the fight, he was controlled, and he landed 200 strikes. That's insane. I love Ricky in this fight. I'm very confident in that pick. I think he should be a parlay piece. His high volume, high pace, just non-stop like pressure versus Zahabi's low volume, big power. I love it. There may be a UFC strike differential record set here. with Zahabi just sitting on big punches and Ricky throwing 10,000 small ones. I jumped on it. I got Ricky at minus 175 when I placed that bet. I told you guys in quick picks, so the line seems to be moving. I think you disagree with me here, Jacob, so why don't you go ahead, let everybody know what you're thinking.
Yeah, I'm trying to look at the see what those odds are right now. Minus, what'd you get? Minus one, what?
175.
It's minus 183 now. And I'll tell you what I placed on this is I placed Zahabi plus 3.5 at minus 125. So I didn't completely pick him, but I'll tell you why, man. And I don't disagree.
Why would you do plus 3.5
Excuse me, sir.
instead of inside the distance decision, no action?
Because why don't you just let me explain instead of just interrupting? I'm about to
go
go
ahead,
through the whole breakdown. So
I'm very excited for
listen,
this.
Ricky is absolutely 100%. That little dude is relentless. He is nonstop. No matter what you do to him, if you take him down, he's going to get back to his feet. If he's on the feet, he's going to do some wild shit. At one point, I think he tried like a jumping guillotine and then scrambled out of it. He is the more wild and relentless fighter in this matchup, but he gets hit. He does get hit, and he does get taken down. And if you look at Zahabi, the guy hits people and flatlines people, and he also has takedowns of his own. I know he can't get taken down. I'm not worried about getting taken down in this fight versus Ricky, but he can get takedowns, and we saw Ricky get taken down time and time again. I know that he was able to scramble out of those positions a few times, but there was a few times where he was just held down, and he was throwing a lot of strikes and doing some wild stuff on the ground to try and get out of those positions. But I think Zahabi is so well-rounded and good enough in the wrestling that he can take down Ricky while he's doing the wild shit, throw a wild kick, do this. Okay, let me just grab that leg, take you down, hold you there. Then that's why I took the 3.5. If he can't do it for 3 rounds, I think that he can take him down and easily steal a round, and I think he can win the fight. That's why I'm picking Zahabi in this fight, because I think that the path to victory are both there. Ricky is the more relentless fighter. He's the more probably dangerous fighter in the regard of being wild and doing wild shit. But Zahabi has the big power. Ricky gets hit. Ricky can get taken down, Zahabi can get taken down. So when I look at this fight and the more well-rounded fighter, I got to go with Zahabi in this matchup. The layoff does, worry me a little bit, but he came back from a 2-year layoff and just flatlined Draco. And I know that wasn't like a back and forth, and you couldn't really see exactly what he was doing in the fight. It was the one shot that did it. But if he's coming off 2 years and not afraid to throw big shots like that, and Ricky's going to do his wild stuff, I understand why people are so high on Ricky, because he is fun to watch. But when you're fun to watch, that's because you're doing some wild shit. You're putting yourself in some trouble. And Zahabi, I think, is a more well-rounded fighter. So this isn't like Ricky is probably one of those guys that I usually fall in love with as far as like the way that they fight. But I got to go with the more technical guy in Zahabi. I think the path to victory is there, and that's why I did the 3.5, Angela. Hopefully that answers your question. It doesn't.
I don't know why you wouldn't do inside the distance decision, no action.
Because I think that Zahabi can win a decision, or he can just win a round, and I don't think that he necessarily is going to win inside the distance. I think he can just get takedowns and hold him down. So I just did a 3.5. He's just got to win a round. Inside the distance, he has to get a finish.
All right, dude has a 16% takedown accuracy, but yeah, that's his path. We betting? Let's bet.
Yeah, I'd love to.
100
150?
Yep. $100 with the odds.
Yeah, so. Well, it's 2-1, so it's going to be 200 and 100, right?
We'll do 50 and 100.
Oh, well, those odds aren't fair to me, but if you're scared to do that, that's fine.
Well, because I already have a bet on him in real life.
No, I get it.
Okay, good. Okay, DraftKings, 7,400 to 8,800. I think I got to have Ricky in my lineup. I'm gonna have to look to see how many points he scored in that last fight, because strikes don't score nearly as much as grappling does, but 200 strikes, that does add up. That does add up. So I got to see how well he scored. And if he scored, 90, 100 in his last fight, he'll be in my lineup this fight as well. You going to have Zahabi in yours? I guess if you think he's going to get takedowns in control time.
Yes, sir.
All right, done. Monkey knife fight. It's so funny because I know when Chris was setting this line, he's like, what the hell do I do with this line? Zahabi threw 4 punches in his last fight. Ricky landed 200 in his last fight. I can't have the strike line be 4 to 200. So we got 51 to 122. So if you think this is such a weird strike line, what would you do with this?
More or less. I feel pretty confident about more or less.
Yeah, I don't know how I can do less on Ricky, who landed. This is almost half of what he landed in his last fight, where he was taken down 6 times. You think he gets taken down? He was taken down 6 times in that fight and controlled for more than half. Still landed more than this. So I think it's probably more, but it's just crazy. It's just crazy. I'm probably not going to touch it. If you guys want to touch that strike line, weonpicks.com/MKF. They will instantly match your deposit. If you want to explore Jacob's plus 3.5 bet, which I disagree with, but his logic is his logic, and it may pay off for him, weonpicks.com/bets. We have 5 partners. BetOnline is the one and only partner that allows you to buy points on the judge's scorecard. If you sign up, if you make a deposit, we send you $50 as a thank you. Next up, at UFC Vegas 58, we have Cynthia Calvillo taking on Nina Nunes. Cynthia Calvillo is 9-4 overall. Nina Nunes, formerly Nina Ansaroff, is 10-7 overall. Cynthia Calvillo is pretty well-rounded. She's a good striker, good grappler, solid takedowns. And while she is very well-rounded, she is pretty slow for the division, and she does not have a ton of power. When she gets you to the ground, she's really solid there. She'll soften you up with strikes and then sink into submission. The big issue for her, however, is that it's obvious she isn't comfortable in a lot of the striking exchanges. It's easy to say she's on a 3-fight skid, but even though 2 of those losses were knockouts, they were to solid opponents. Andrea Lee, Jessica Andrade, and then obviously the decision to Katlyn Chookagian, because all Katlyn Chookagian fights are decisions. And then Nina Nunes, formerly Nina Ansaroff. She is Amanda Nunes' wife. So if you're doing your research, you want to do some tape study, you got to look up Nina Ansaroff to get the good stuff. And this is, I thought this was her first fight back after having a kid, but somebody said it's her second. Either way, she has not been very active as of late.
Caught by my girl Mackenzie.
And that was right after having a kid. So either way, she's still coming back somewhat close to having a kid. But skill-wise, she's very well-rounded. She's not the best striker. She's not the best grappler. But she does have solid fundamentals everywhere. And her only losses are really to specialists, meaning she loses to very high-level grapplers. She loses to high-level strikers. But she doesn't lose to just other well-rounded people. You don't see her losing to mixed martial artists. She loses to specialists, people that are amazing at one thing. She loses because of that one thing. And I get why Calvillo is the favorite here. She averages almost 2 takedowns per fight, and Nina's last 2 losses were grappling-based losses. But I'm going with Nina here. I think Cynthia Calvillo is definitely the better fighter, but on that Andrade loss just took something out of her. She is not the same person. In that loss against Andrea Lee, she quit on the stool. Her shot attempts look terrible. She's never really been a very good striker, so I got to go Nunes here. There has been a little bit of a layoff. Obviously, there's the big gym change. Right now, Amanda's running her own gym instead of American Top Team, having a child. There are some unknowns in here, but I like Nina to get this done. I think Cynthia Calvillo is just a shell of what she used to be, and I think Nina's the better fighter. What do you think, Jakey boy?
My girl Cynthia is back. I'll tell you right now, she's back. And this is the perfect matchup for Nina Nunes coming up in weight. Her first fight at 125, usually a 115er. I think that Cynthia is finally able to bully someone the way that she was bullying people throughout her entire career until she went up against, Caitlyn, a bigger fighter. Obviously, Andrade muscles and bullies people around. She got flat embarrassed in that fight. Andrea Lee, another big girl that was able to kind of out-tough her in that matchup. And even in that Andrea Lee fight, I know that she did, quit on the stool or in between rounds or whatever. But in that first round, she was getting beat up, and she was still coming forward. She's a tough girl. I know that she kind of got embarrassed in those last 2 fights, but she's a tough girl. When she can start inflicting her bully mentality onto people and she's able to show them, like, I'm the tougher girl in this matchup, and I think she's going to be able to do that against Nina Nunes, you're going to see a new and improved Cynthia. I did the deep dive again. I do all the research, guys, on her Instagram. She's in the training camp with Brandon Moreno. She's in there shadow boxing. Her hands are looking quick. Hands are looking fast. That's a great camp to be in around a great striker and boxer in Brandon Moreno. If she's getting, a quarter of the training that Brandon Moreno is getting, you know that her striking is definitely going to be improving. You saw that with who was it a couple weeks ago that I did the deep dive on the Instagram. I said
woman?
she's a better
Yeah.
striker.
Silva?
Yeah. I said I try to warn you guys that her striking to be improved. I think Cynthia marches down Nina, improves striking to set up the takedowns, able to get the takedowns and dominate on the ground. I'm a big Cynthia fan. I loved her. Going into that Andrade matchup, I thought that she was able to match the intensity and a dog, of Andrade, and she was embarrassed. But I think that she's able to bounce back now, finally get that matchup she's looking for, and get those takedowns that she needs to win the fight. So I'm Cynthia all the way, and that's why the odds are the way they are.
But you say bounce back from the Andrade loss. She has fought since then and got smoked and quit. That
Right.
is what worries me. That's my pick is a lot of it has to do with that fight. I feel like she literally was broken in that fight and may never be the same. I could be wrong, but she looked awful, and quit. It wasn't even like she was
apparently
outclassed.
she broke her orbital. That's why she quit. So that'll get you.
Okay, but so she gets a pass and then
So she broke her entire face and then she quit. So
okay. Well, we'll see. I just think, sometimes fighters have those losses and they're just never the same.
does it worry you that this is her first fight at 125 for Nina?
No, I'm sure she's training with her wife. You know what I mean? Like, no, that doesn't worry me because she was never a bully. She didn't rely on physicality. She was always she's good at everything. And like I said, if you go through her record, she's got 7 losses.
She's okay at everything. She's not good at everything. If she was good at everything,
I would say good, not. I'd say she's good at everything and not great. Because her losses, I mentioned, they're two specialists. She lost to Mackenzie Dern, specialist. Lots of Tatiana Suarez, specialist. Like, she's only losing to people phenomenal at one thing. She's not losing fights like this typically. So, listen, we'll see. If Cynthia Calvillo fights like she did before the Andrade fight, she's probably the better.
Will.
I think Cynthia Calvillo was the better fighter. Andrade took something from her, and now Nunes is the better fighter. That's my analysis. And I could look way off if Cynthia comes out and looks like she did it 2 years ago.
And I don't mean this like super disrespectful.
Yeah, here's some
that's like the
bullshit.
dumbest shit I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, because fighters have never. Okay, yeah, Cowboy
took a piece of her soul.
Okay, so when Connor beat Cowboy, that's what I thought. When Connor beat Cowboy, that didn't take something from him. He was never the same.
Cowboy literally said I was going to retire before the
Eddie Alvarez.
He literally said I was going to retire before the Connor fight. And
when Connor beat Eddie Alvarez, never the same. So nobody wants to hear your mouth.
Eddie sucked.
People are
He
leaving.
sucked.
People are leaving because of your nonsense. Anyway, 8,500. You're going to spend the 8,500. You love her so much. I can't wait to see her in your lineup. 8,500.
Yeah, she's going to be in my lineup. Hell yeah, she's going to get probably 12
right.
takedowns. What's the over/under on takedowns you think for her? I think it's going to be 5 or 6.
I'll set a line right now. 5.
You
have the over. I have the under.
I think she's going to pick her up and slam her on her head.
Then
Expecto Patrono take a piece of her soul and get her soul back.
I'll bet you right now.
She's like a Death Eater. She's going to stand over and
just. This is what he does. This is what he does.
Suck the soul out of her. That's what Anjos thinks.
Childish nonsense. This is what he does. You want to set
I took a piece of her soul.
Okay.
That's you saying that, not me.
Nobody said soul. Do you want to set a takedown line and bet it since you're such a man?
Somebody probably has it, right?
Yeah. Prize Picks will.
Prize Picks, yeah. And we'll see what it is.
Okay. We will see what it is.
Yeah, we will see what it is.
No matter. I honestly, I'm hungover. You're like in your little pick.
You're the one talking about like Harry Potter
kid mood. Smack the shit out of you. Woosah. Okay. $7,700 in draft. I don't have a sister. But if I did, she'd be gross. Okay. $7,700 in DraftKings. I don't think I'm going to spend that. I might. I don't think I'm going to spend that because I do think Nina's better everywhere, but I don't think she's going to get the takedowns, get the control time. I think she'll defend a few sloppy takedowns because Cynthia Calvillo's takedowns in her last fight were horrendous. I think she defends those, touches her up. I don't necessarily think there's a stoppage, but this is a tricky week. There's only 11 fights, so 22 fighters. I'm going to have to start putting people in my lineup that I really don't want in there. So we'll see how that goes. The Monkey Knife Fight
Wait,
strike
did you
line.
just say that you're not going to put her in your lineup at $7,700?
I gotta look. I said I
Oh
don't.
my god! Oh, this whole it's just oh my god.
Okay. Monkey Knife Fight Strike Line. I think it's more and more. I think they go at it. I think there is some solid back and forth. Cynthia with poor shot attempts, getting hit in the face with her negative striking differential. Did you know that, Jacob? The star has a negative striking differential and miserable takedown percentage. But yeah, you're right.
Yeah, how much was that
That's
from the Caitlyn fight of her fake strikes?
Are we betting? Can
punch
we
and
bet
win.
this fight? Can we bet this fight too?
Yeah, let's do the 50-100 again. Found me.
No.
What do you mean?
Oh, yeah, fine. 50-100 for me. Yeah. Fine.
Yeah.
Well, you said again, thinking it was for you.
So
All
that
right,
means I'm
fine,
gonna make
done.
$150 on back-to-back fights.
Okay, yeah. We'll find out. And if you guys want 50 free bucks, WeWantPicks.com/bets. Sign up, make a deposit. We send you $50 as a thank you. I'll take the 50 that Jacob gives me, and then I'll send it to you. Next up at UFC Vegas 58, opening up the main card, we have Michael Johnson taking on Jamie Mullarkey. Michael Johnson, 20-17 overall, 1-4 in his last 5, coming in on pretty short notice after a KO win just a month ago. Jamie Mullarkey, 14-5 overall, 2-3 in his last 5, coming off a knockout loss 3 months ago. Michael Johnson, nobody say what? What's happening in this comment section? What is happening? Oh, you're stupid because you look like Jamie Mullarkey. I thought I had something wrong on the screen. Okay.
No, I was waiting for your dumbass to make some smart-ass comment, but...
I don't insult you like how you look. You can't help that you're short, pale as hell, skinny.
No, I'll ban.
Unreasonably
I'm a screenshot.
freckled.
We're gonna ban everyone. I'm a ban.
You-
Does
I
he
mean,
even have
that-
freckles? I don't know. Oh, I guess he kind of does, doesn't he?
That's not anything that you can
I think he only has a 6-pack, and I got like a 12-pack. So
God giveth and God
my
taketh.
muscle
And
definition
unfortunately,
is much better than that.
you
guy
have
right
been
there.
taketh from Michael Johnson. Again, he's jumping in on somewhat short notice here. He's only a month removed from that win over Alan Patrick. He's a very talented guy, and he's had an incredibly tough competition slate in his career. It's easy to say, oh, he's got 13 losses in the UFC and assume like, he's just a journeyman at this point, which I guess you could argue he might be, but let's take a closer look at those losses. Benil Dariush, Nate Diaz, Khabib, Justin Gaethje, Darren Elkins, Thiago Moises, Clay Guida. I mean, that's just a murderer's row of the light heavyweight division over the last 10 years. And skill-wise, he's pretty good everywhere. He's a talented striker. He doesn't really have a ton of power, but he has a really nice footwork. He's got a positive striking differential at around the half a strike, which again, go through all those names I just listed. The fact that Michael Johnson has landed more strikes than he's received over that career with that competition level is very, very impressive. Jamie Mullarkey reinvented himself in 2021 as a striker. He put together 2 beautiful knockouts in a row, and that caught up to him in his last fight against Jalen Turner. He had some moments of success, including a takedown in that fight, but he just could not handle the power and was ultimately KO'd. Jamie's a pretty well-rounded guy, but I'd not say that he's great anywhere. He's solid everywhere. He puts things together well. If you look at his losses, he had a decent outing against Brad Riddell, who we now know is very good, although he was just put out also to Jalen Turner. He has that loss to Volkanovski in 2016. Nice body of work under him as well. Not quite what Michael Johnson has done, but he's primarily a grappler. He's got solid takedowns, good pressure on top. He ground and pounds pretty well. He sets up transition and creates scrambles and then looks for submissions there. And Jamie Mullarkey, the line is moving. He was a 2-1 favorite the other day. Now he's an even wider favorite now. I'm not sure why. I don't know what I'm missing. Like, yes, he had that 2-run knockout streak last year. I got it. But those were against lesser skilled opponents than Michael Johnson. And frankly, I don't even think they're in the UFC anymore. And outside of that, he's a grappler who I don't think is going to be able to out-grapple Michael Johnson. Michael Johnson has a 78% takedown defense over 25 UFC fights, which includes Clay Guida and Khabib. And those are the only 2 people in 10 years that were able to take him down more than once. And if you think that he outstrikes Michael Johnson, I'm going to disagree with you there too. Michael Johnson has only been knocked out one single time in his 25 UFC fights, and that was to Josh Emmett. Outside of that, I can only think of one time where he lost the fight because he was outstruck. Not knocked out, he was just outstruck in that fight. So I get it. Michael Johnson, older, real rough skid, right? He was on a rough 4-fight losing skid before that last fight. But Michael Johnson's still a good fighter, and I think he wins this fight. What do you think? You sticking with the Ginge? You got a little Ginge bond going on here?
He's not a ginger, and neither am I. I mean, if you look at his hair right there, it's brown, and
Sure.
there's no way that you're serious, right? Like this is it's called We Want Picks. It's like we're trying to like build off momentum from last week. It was a great last week, and then like I don't know what the hell you're doing this week. We've been opposite, like I mean, like every single pick. I literally don't know what the hell is going on. Is this? I don't know if this is like a joke or like you picked Michael Johnson. Is that what you said?
Yeah. Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Tell me how you think Jamie Mullarkey wins this fight. I'd love to hear.
However the fuck he wants to win the fight, Angelo.
Okay, sure.
He's gonna wrestle.
So he'll out wrestle Michael
shots.
Johnson.
I thought you asked me a question, so I thought you asked me a question. So usually when people are having a dialogue, somebody asks a question and then they let the person answer the question instead of talking over them. So you let me know when you're done, and then I'll answer the question.
I mean, I'm in a mood. You're pushing a nerve, and I would wring that skinny, ridiculous freckled neck of yours if you were anywhere near me. But go ahead.
No,
I'll
bring
pause.
that same energy. Next time I come over, I want that same energy.
Saturday.
We'll see what happens. We'll set up a camera, and we'll see what happens. You know, when I hit that flying triangle and break your arm, I don't want anybody crying.
Okay.
Better sign that waiver.
Sure. Go ahead.
Listen, Jamie Mullarkey, he should have a wrestling advantage. He should have the power advantage. He should have a toughness advantage. You know, the Jalen Turner knockout actually holds up pretty well because we saw what Jalen Turner was doing to everyone. And Jamie Mullarkey was eating shots. I mean, he was eating shots in the first round. He was able to survive and throw back on his own. That dude's got real power in his hands. Tough as shit. Looks great. The guy looks fantastic, by the way. I can't believe he even fights. He should be in Vogue, GQ, sexiest man alive right there. If I'm looking at that guy, I'm thinking that guy's a fucking model. I'm Jamie Mullarkey all the way. There's a reason why he's a big favorite. Michael Johnson, honestly, to be completely honest with you, this does feel like the type of fight that Michael Johnson is going to win. Like there's just the random fights that he just somehow wins. If he just shows up and it's like, oh, the best thing I saw, who was it that tweeted? It was it says Michael Johnson is a guy that could submit Khabib and then next week lose a decision to Roxanne Modafferi.
Very inconsistent. Yeah,
just super. But this seems like one of those fights. Or maybe he shows up, maybe he doesn't. Who knows? I wouldn't trust to put the money on him. I'm not going to put any money on Jamie Mullarkey. I do think the odds are inflated a little bit, but you know he should absolutely win the fight. I brought it back and I said it. You know what is real. So. But he should absolutely win this fight.
Yeah, listen, I do believe in momentum when it comes to fighting and just general energy and stuff like that. And Michael Johnson was on a bad skid, and he got that win. He looked good. He's jumping back in there quick turnaround. I feel it. Like, I feel like he cares again. And keep in mind, Michael Johnson was very good. There was a period in time where he had a nice run, and he was very good. And he was at Black Zillions, and then Glenn Robinson died, and then the team got split up, and like a lot of things happened, and then that's when he started to fall off a bit. But now, things seem to be coming together for him. So we'll see what happens. But I like Michael Johnson here. I do have a money line bet on him because of those odds. I took a stab at it. The fact that. Like, listen, even in the comments section, I see you guys, Michael Johnson was good 7 years ago. And listen, maybe it's a Cowboy situation where Cowboy used to be good. But, hey, Cowboy won that first round the other night. Did he not? So,
No,
there you go. Go ahead. What's up?
No, I was going to say, I do have a bet on this fight, and it is 3 units on does not go the distance. It's minus 200. It's 3 units to get a unit and a half back. Jamie Mullarkey is a guy that is going to finish somebody or, get finished. He's just one of those guys now that just throws haymakers and gets a little bit wild. So I like that bet. 3 units on does not go the distance for this fight. So if Michael Johnson ends up finding that weird finish or whatever, it's fine with me for my money.
Well, we'll find out what happens because this is, Jamie Mullarkey's coming back after that big knockout loss, and we'll see what he does. He might just be diving at legs immediately. Or he'll go right back to his hands, because he fell in love with him a year ago. So we'll see what happens. It should be an interesting fight. I'm looking forward to it. DraftKings.
I just don't understand. There's so many people in the chat that are so high on Michael Johnson, like he's like this world beater. I understand he's talented, but it's like, Jesus. Do you trust him that much? I don't know. I understand your bet. Like, take it. Like, that's probably the better value. I understand your bet, but the people are like, "Oh, he's definitely going to win this fight." It's like, all right.
Well, it is a "What have you done for me lately?" sport, and lately Jamie Mullarkey was put out. I don't know. I guess we'll see what happens. I trust Michael Johnson. Jamie Mullarkey, I don't see him knocking out Michael Johnson. I don't see him out wrestling Michael Johnson. Khabib could only take him down twice. Jamie Mullarkey's going to take him down 5 times? Come on. Anyway, $7,100 if you're on the Michael Johnson side. That's the best value you're going to get on the entire card. If you think Jamie Mullarkey puts him out, then yeah, go ahead and spend $9,100. You going to spend the $9,100? Yeah, okay. Solve that. I think it's more and more on the Monkey Knife Fight strike line. I don't think there's a stoppage here. I think it's a decision. And I could be wrong. Michael Johnson just put out Alan Patrick.
The odds are pretty confident.
Yeah, I mean, Michael
so
Johnson's
put that
coming
bet.
off
If you think it goes to a decision, let me get those odds. You can put it right now. Let's see. Let's put your money with the masses. Plus 160.
The reason I don't necessarily think there's a stoppage here is because Michael Johnson's not really a stoppage guy. Yes, he's coming off that knockout over Alan Patrick. And Jamie Mullarkey, he's had those 2 knockouts, but I don't see him knocking out Michael Johnson. Even an old Michael Johnson hasn't been getting put out. Josh Emmett years ago. That's it. So we'll see what happens here. I think it's a decision, therefore, or at least goes late. Therefore, I like the more on the Monkey Knife Fight strike line. And remember, the Monkey Knife Fight strike line is total strikes, not significant strikes, just total. Anything, slaps, pitter-patter, any contact counts towards this strike line. 43, 45, you need 15 a round and you're square. So I think 15 punches in a single round is not an absurd thing to get. I like the more, and if you want to follow that, go to WeWantPicks.com/MKF. They will instantly match your deposit up to $100. And if you want $50 for free, WeWantPicks.com/bets. Sign up, make a deposit, and we will send you $50 as a thank you. What are you laughing at?
Robot.
All right. Next up, at UFC Vegas 58, we have Jared Vanderaa taking on Chase Sherman. Jared Vanderaa is 12-8 overall, 1-4 in his last 5, riding a 3-fight skid. Chase Sherman is 15-10 overall, 1-4 in his last 5, riding a 4-fight skid. And a lot of you, I can see this comment section now, a lot of you are going to have all sorts of snarky, wise-ass comments about these guys and their skills. And the reality is, though, they're gamers. They both have stepped up on short notice multiple times to save a fight. I don't want to say save a card because they didn't save a card, but they've stepped up on short notice to keep a fight together. They went in there, they risked it all, and neither one of these guys are in boring fights. They go out there and they put it on the line. So I got to appreciate them for that. And I'm going to break it down accordingly. Jared Vanderaa is a volume striker who built his pre-UFC career on his grappling. And breaking down his UFC fights versus his fights in the regional scene, you're going to think you're looking at 2 different guys. Now, in the UFC, he's a striker. Full-blown, busy striker. He dominated Justin Tafa. Had a real close fight with Andrei Arlovski that a lot of people think he won. He outlanded Andrei Arlovski 70-64. He is coming off that submission loss to Alexei Olenek, where he still managed to double Alexei's strikes before he was submitted. And frankly, there was just some poor fight IQ moments that led to that. He's got a long jab, solid distance control, and clean striking, in addition to the fact that he's enormous and has decent wrestling in his back pocket. And he hasn't showcased that wrestling yet, but he does have it, and it is there. Chase Sherman, he's a good boxer, solid foot movement and speed. He does not have a ton of power, but he does have volume, and he just does not stop throwing his hands until the last bell. Even if he's exhausted and slowing down, he's still putting those hands out there. Outside of that short notice fight with Alexander Romanov, Chase has had solid takedown defense, but he doesn't have any head movement at all, which is why he is hit with more than 6 significant strikes per minute, which is nuts. That's a lot of punches to the face being landed. And I appreciate Chase Sherman, and every fight he's had in the UFC has been entertaining. He was cut by the UFC about a month ago now, 2 months, something like that. But then he stepped up on short notice for that Romanov fight, and that gave him second life in the promotion. I do think he's going to lose here. I'm pretty sure he's going to be cut again. And I think this entire fight just comes down to volume. I think Chase may have the higher output, but I think Jared's going to land more. I think he's going to touch up Chase, continue coming forward. Chase doesn't move his head. I think he's going to wear it. So I like Jared Vanderaa to win a strike-heavy decision. And what's really interesting about the UFC's heavyweight division recently is there's the upper echelon guys. Then there's that whole pack in the middle being led by Andrei Arlovski, where every single one of those fighters is just a volume striker. Every single one. And there's like 7 of them. This is more of that. I think Jared Vanderaa wins, but listen, almost 2-1 odds, 8,600 in DraftKings. It's a little inflated. What do you think, Jackie boy?
Yeah, I'll let your breakdown speak for both of us because I have no notes on this fight. I told you I hate girl fights. I'm not betting on heavyweight fights anymore. Both these guys are pretty much the same guy in my mind. I'm going Chase Sherman just for the hell of it, staying away from it completely. Moving on.
Okay. Always with the valuable insight. And what always impresses me about you is just how prepared you are.
You know the difference between ordinary and extraordinary, Angelo, is?
What is that?
It's just that little extra. Just that little extra.
Yeah. Well, we definitely appreciate the incredible insight that you brought to this fight. Very, very helpful. I'm not going to have Jared Vanderaa $8,600 in DraftKings. The reality is Chase Sherman's pretty tough guy. And Jared Vanderaa is not Alexander Romanov. Odds definitely feel inflated. This may be, I dropped the pen. This may be a +3.5 situation where Chase Sherman can win a round with volume. And this may be a split decision. The reality is this could look exactly like Jared Vanderaa versus Andrei Arlovski. Super close, striking match where a judge will give a little bit of a nod and you can hit the bet. So I'll take a look and see what that +3.5 bet is. Again, you've heard me say this a million times, but just in case you haven't.
-115.
-115. That's not terrible. And all that means is Chase Sherman just has to win one round. If Chase Sherman can win one round on the judges' scorecard, which is plausible, I hit the bet. So I'll look at that. I'll explore that. We'll see what that how I'm feeling about that later in the week.
Do you see a finish? I don't see a finish in this fight.
No.
And goes the distance is +150. It's -180 for does not go the distance, which is interesting because I think these guys are just sloppy slugging it out for 3 rounds.
That is very surprising. I think I am going to bet the what's the round line? 1.5?
2.5. Over 2.5 is +115, but you can just get goes the distance for +150.
Yeah, I may jump on that because I mentioned there's like a giant pack of fighters in the middle of the heavyweight division. Andrei Arlovski beat every single one of them. And it's just volume striking. That's all it is. It's just volume striking. No finishes, tons of
right, because the first thing when I saw this matchup, I just imagined just 3 rounds just against the cage, just sloppy, laying on each other, or in the distance, just boom, 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 volume. So that's one that I might enter. That's probably going to be one of my live bets. So if you guys follow me on my Twitter or whatever, like as the fight approaches, that's probably what I'm going to play right before that fight starts. And I hate playing goes the distance bets. I usually like trying to pick the does not go the distance, but that might be one I play because I don't see neither one of these guys are like knock your lights out guys.
Neither one. Nope, neither one. DraftKings, I'm probably not going to touch it, but again, I've said it 10 times, not a lot of fighters on this card, so you're going to have some people you don't love in your DraftKings lineup. More on Monkey Knife Fight is probably solid, but 78 is a tricky line, so I'm not going to touch Monkey Knife Fight. Yeah, you guys let me know in the comment section what you think about that Monkey Knife Fight strike line because Jared has probably landed more than 78 in every single one of his decisions, and I think it goes to a decision. If you are confident, you want to check that out, weontpicks.com/MKF. They will instantly match your deposit up to $100. Next up, at UFC Vegas 58, we have Douglas Silva de Andrade, and he is taking on Said Nurmagomedov. Douglas Silva de Andrade is 28-4 overall, 3-2 in his last 5, coming off the submission win over Sergey Morozov. Said Nurmagomedov is 4-1 in his last 5, coming off a submission win over Cody Stamen. And despite the name, Said Nurmagomedov is not related to Khabib at all. And it makes sense if you watch him fight because Said is a flashy striker who uses his length really well, and he'll throw kicks to your head while standing just like a few inches from you. His striking is versatile, and he has an impressive 5-2 striking differential with an even more impressive 77% takedown defense. He's 4-1 in the UFC with 3 stoppages and only 1 takedown. But the highlight there is 1 takedown. A lot of you are going to see the last name and jump to conclusions. He is not a Dagestani wrestler. He is a flashy, fun, very good striker. Douglas Silva de Andrade, 11 names, and doing these graphics was a real pain in my ass, but he's back down at 135 pounds, and he has been for a couple of fights now, and he's had some real success there. He's coming off a come-from-behind submission win over Morozov and a KO win over Gaetano Perillo about 8 months ago. If you look at his record, you'll see that he has fought a who's who of former and current champions in multiple weight classes. He's a compact guy with solid boxing and a lot of power. He's had solid BJJ in the ground, but it's mostly there as a backup plan because he doesn't really initiate offensive wrestling very often. His ideal fight is a dirty boxing inside the pocket type fight. And, you know, both of these guys are very well rounded, but this is a striker versus striker matchup, I feel like. Nurmagomedov will have the cleaner and more versatile technique, but Douglas Silva de Andrade will definitely have more power. He's got 4 knockdowns in 2 fights. And even though he was also knocked down in that Morozov fight, he made adjustments. He went to his wrestling. He got it done in the second round. I do like Nurmagomedov here because he just sets a really nice pace, and not only does he have the nice striking offense, but he's got striking defense as well. Douglas Silva has a negative striking differential, and I see Nurmagomedov adding to that lopsidedness. So Said Nurmagomedov is the pick, but he definitely needs to avoid the power here. What do you think, Chicky boy?
Yeah, Said's a guy that if you want to compare him to somebody, it's like he looks like Zabit, and actually he's really good friends with Zabit, so you can really tell that in probably the way that they were training and stuff, because he does some wild shit, man. This dude is a wild man, and if you're Andrade in this matchup, you can win this fight, but you have to win this fight like Hani Barcelos beat Said, and that is stay out of danger early. Work the legs because Said loves the movement, the side to side, the wild shit. Barcelos was just eating up Said's leg early. And then later on, he basically lost that fight to Barcelos because he was doing that wild shit. Barcelos was able to catch one of those wild leg kicks late, get the takedown, and won the decision because of that. It was a back-and-forth fight. I think the first round was for Said, the second round was for Hani. And then Hani was able to seal the fight because Said did the wild shit that cost him the fight. He ended up on his back, and Hani was able to control that fight. If you're Andrade, you just have to wait for Said to make those mistakes because he will make those mistakes. And they're not necessarily mistakes, but he puts himself in bad positions with his wild shit. And sometimes that wild shit lands, and it looks flashy, just like when Zabit was doing his wild knockouts and all that wild shit. It works, and it pressures people, and that's how he wins fights. But if you're Andrade, and you don't get too aggressive early, and you stay patient, and you're able to chew up those legs, like Hani was able to chew up his legs, slow down the movement, and maybe get some late takedowns and steal a couple rounds, you can win this fight. I don't think he's going to be able to because I think Andrade is probably going to be, he's that power guy. He's going to come in and he's going to see the spinning shit and think he has opportunities and tries to lay the power early. He's probably going to get caught, but, you know, Said is the pick. I have full confidence in the world that he's able to get this job done, but Andrade definitely has a little bit of a path to victory if he can stay patient, chew up the legs, slow down the movement, and just wait for those opportunities, because Said will give you those opportunities if you wait. The problem is once he starts doing the wild shit, people try to match that energy, and it's hard to keep up against a striker like Said. So Said is definitely the pick. I just think there's a slight opportunity there for Andrade to steal this decision, just like Hani Barcelos did.
Yeah, I mean, Hani Barcelos is a phenomenal. He's had a little skid of his own there, but he's a phenomenal fighter. So we're on the same side here, $7,000 to $9,200. I've been saying all night there's a lot of fighters I really don't like on this DraftKings, you know, for this DraftKings slate, but I do like Said, and I will probably spend the money on him for my lineup. Do you like him enough?
I do, yeah.
Yeah, especially, I mean, Douglas was just dropped in his last fight. Against
right. Yeah, that was that was like when you say like this person's tough. Andrade was tough in that last fight, man. He battled back and won that fight. So hats off to him. But yeah, it's gonna be a tough one for him.
Yeah, so we're both we're aligned on the pick. We're aligned on DraftKings. I almost put a bet on him earlier as I was doing the graphics with the updated odds. I was like, gosh, should I just go do a money line bet on this guy? I'm pretty confident he win. I decided not to, but I may end up with a bet on him. We'll see what happens. Monkey Knife Fight Strike Line 40 to 66. I'm not going to touch this one. I don't know what to do with this one. It could be an early stoppage, so I don't know. I don't know what to do with it. What do you think?
Naked Fun. Oh, here we go. Sorry about that. I got a little distracted in the chat there. I'm gonna have to let me screenshot. Let me take a picture of that real quick.
Okay. What do you think of the freaking strike line?
I think it's probably more and more. I mean, Douglas did show how tough he was in his last fight, so I'll play off that toughness and go with the more and more.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to touch it. This will be one of the very few that I won't touch. But if you guys want to check it out, weonpicks.com/MKF. They will instantly match your deposit. And if you want $50, weonpicks.com/bets. Sign up, make a deposit, and we send you $50, 50, as a thank you. That's weonpicks.com/bets. Next up at UFC Vegas 58, we have the co-main event of the evening. We have Caio Borralho taking on Armen Petrosyan. Caio Borralho is 11-1 overall, 5-0 in his last 5, and he is coming off a win in his UFC debut in what was a different co-main event. And he's fighting Armen Petrosyan, 7-1 overall, 4-1 in his last 5, coming off the first decision of his career. Caio Borralho is a very slick grappler with solid submissions and well-timed takedowns. He has a long stance and very loose on his feet, where he then explodes into double legs for takedowns. When he hits the ground, it is very clear that he's an accomplished grappler with just how he moves and controls on top. He has belts in both judo and jiu-jitsu, and he uses all of those techniques in his fights. He had an awesome head kick combo on the Contender Series that led to a stoppage, and he has improved striking. You could see that in his last fight against Godzi, but he's definitely a grappler and not a striker. Armen Petrosyan is a fun striker who's coming off the first decision of his career. He has a professional kickboxing background, and if you go watch those fights, he essentially just brawls it out. He relies on his chin to keep him in those fights. He lets people back him up, and then he plants his feet and just throws heavy. He does not have the best takedown defense, but he has very good submission defense and a solid get-up game. His most impressive statistic is definitely his striking output. He lands almost 8 significant strikes per minute, which is double the UFC average. And this should be a fun fight between two skilled fighters with contrasting styles. Kyle's a fantastic grappler who's going to be looking to get it to the ground, and Armen is a professional kickboxer with incredible volume who wants to fight in the pocket. This is another fight where the bookies have a clear favorite. Kyle's a 2-1 favorite on most books, but I think the fight's a lot closer than that. Caio does have a clear path with the grappling, but Armen has been taken down 5 times in 2 fights, and he still won those fights, even though he gave up 5 takedowns. He landed 127 strikes on Gregory Rodriguez to Gregory's 61 in a fight where he was taken down twice. If Armen fights loose, lets his hands fly, and makes Caio pay every time there's a grappling entry, then Armen wins this fight. I do think Caio will get it to the ground, and he will have success there. So Caio's the pick, but I don't like him as a 2-1 favorite. And quite honestly, let's see how weigh-ins go. Let's see how the rest of this week's go. I may change that pick. This is like a razor-thin fight for me, even though there's a clear grappling advantage. What do you think?
Yeah, the grappling advantage obviously is why the odds are the way they are. You know, if this stays on the feet, Armen should, I guess, win the fight. But when you watch that Gregory Rodriguez fight, that dude was getting hit. And I know Gregory Rodriguez is a decent striker in his own right, and he has some real power. But he also is known as like a grappling specialist. And I know he gets in wars, and he throws hands, and he's able to land strikes. But he was lighting Armen up. And if you watch Caio in his last fight as well, I know that he dominated the grappling. And actually, that fight, he was supposed to be, I don't want to say the striker in that matchup, but he was not supposed to win the wrestling in that matchup. I know he's the better grappler, jiu-jitsu, but he was supposed to lose wrestling. The Russian was supposed to come in, take him down, and control and hold him. And the first takedown, he was able to just just shrug him off, sweep him, and just control him and dominate him on the ground. I think the second round he got his own takedown in that fight, and then obviously the third round happened to where he kneed him in the head, and that Russian was like, I'm done. Let me try and get out of here with a no contest or whatever, because he was getting dominated in that fight, and it was a legal knee, and he thought that he was going to be able to get out of that fight. But they went to the judges' scorecards because it went so long. They determined it was not a on purpose knee, a purposeful knee, whatever that word is or whatever. But listen, Caio is a big problem. I think I picked against him in that last fight because I thought that he was going to be taken down and controlled. And he showed that not only is his jiu-jitsu good, but his wrestling and sweeps are also fantastic. The way that Gregory was able to take down Aiemann, I know that he ended up winning that fight with the striking, but the ease at which he was able to take those down, and the thing that is important here is when Gregory took him down, and I think this probably happened in his last fights too, it was a lot of submission over position. When you watch Caio take people down the way he took down that Russian in the last fight, it was all control. Just taking his time, control, body lock. When he was rotating the body lock, he was switching the body lock. He was all about, let me just keep him here and control him. And if a submission opens itself up, I'll take it. The guy's been training with Damian Maia for like 10 years. He knows what he's doing out there. But I love the fact that it was his UFC debut, but he didn't chase anything. He was so patient. Position over submission. If he gets Aiemann down, he is going to be able to control him and do whatever he wants on the ground. And I think that on the feet, he can hold his own. Obviously, that's not where he wants to be, but the way that Aiemann is able to get hit, I think he can hold his own to get to those takedowns. So I think Caio, we both picked Caio, but I'm much higher on Caio than I think you are in this fight. I think he can hold his own in the striking, and if he gets this fight to the ground, it is going to be position over submission. He should absolutely dominate. So I'm Caio all the way, and I understand why the odds are 2-1.
Yeah, same pick, different confidence levels for sure, because clear path for Caio, but Aieman's a savage, dude. Like go watch his kickboxing fights. He's a savage. But $8,900 in DraftKings. Listen, if you think he wins with the grappling, then he's definitely worth $8,900. Control time scores really well. Takedown score really well. So if he's getting 15 minutes of, or 12 minutes of control time, then yeah, he'll score well and he's worth the $8,900. If you think Aiemann could put him out, $7,300 is worth it. Do you like him at $8,900?
Yeah, he's gonna be in my lineup.
Yeah. Monkey Knife Fight Strike Line, 62-71. I do think this fight goes a little longer. And I think it's a more and more. The stat that I mentioned was that Aiemann Petrosian in that fight with Gregory Rodriguez, Aiemann landed 127 strikes, and he was taken down twice. So we just need him to get past 71. I think he will get past 71. Like you said, Caio's a pretty good striker, so he may entertain the striking for a little bit. So I'm confident in the more on the Monkey Knife Fight Strike Line. Check that out at wewantpicks.com/MKF. And if you want $50 free, there's definitely some prop bets here to have some money be made. And if you want to go check those out, wewantpicks.com/bets. Sign up with any one of our 5 betting partners, make a deposit, and we send you $50 as a thank you. Next up at UFC Vegas 58, we have the main event of the evening. We have Rafael Dos Anjos taking on Rafael Fiziev. Rafael Dos Anjos is 31-13 overall, 3-2 in his last 5, coming off a short notice win over Renato Moicano. Rafael Fiziev is 11-1 overall, 5-0 in his last 5, coming off the KO win over Brad Riddell. This fight has been booked and rebooked a few times, and I'm excited for it, especially now that we saw Rafael Dos Anjos murder Moicano. Rafael Dos Anjos or Rafael, I got to get my H's and R's correct in this fight. H for the Brazilian. Rafael Dos Anjos is the former lightweight champion of the world, and he missed his massive payday, if you remember, when he pulled out against Conor McGregor, and that's actually what set up Conor versus Nate Diaz, so I guess thank you for that. But he's an incredibly well-rounded guy, but he is a grappler at heart. He's developed clean striking with some solid volume, and that tricks people into thinking he's going to strike with them, and then he just works in his grappling. It's easy to say that he's 3-4 in his last 7, but look at who he lost to. Usman, Covington, Leon Edwards, and Michael Chiesa, and all of those losses were at 170 pounds. In that same time span, he did beat Kevin Lee, Paul Felder, and now Renato Moicano. Rafael Fiziev is a phenomenal striker. He's got traditional Muay Thai style. He's got incredible power, lots of volume, and he mixes in his punches and kicks really well. And what else would you expect from a striker as high level as him? And he is the Tiger Muay Thai striking coach. So the striking coach at one of the most well-regarded striking gyms on the planet. He just put away Brad Riddell, who's also a fantastic striker, but Brad was able to take Rafael down one time, and that lowered Rafael's takedown defense from 100% to 95%. His cardio seemed to hold up in that Brad Riddell fight, but the fight before that against Bobby Green, his cardio was not there. He gave up an entire round. He was so gassed in that fight. A lot of people, including myself, picked Fiziev to win this fight the last time we broke it down. But then we saw Dos Anjos in the cage, and he dismantled Moicano. 5 takedowns, 179 strikes, and 13 minutes of control time. And I also want to point out 2 things. One, I want to remind you that this is a 5-round fight. Fiziev has had cardio issues in the past with 15 minutes. This is 25 minutes. I have to imagine he's going to be sucking a little bit of wind, especially if RDA works in the grappling. And 2, if we go all the way back to 2016, the only people that beat RDA were able to take him down. The only fights he's lost since 2016 were because of takedowns. And he doesn't have a single loss in 6 years where he wasn't taken down. He has not been finished in that time span. Rafael Dos Anjos' inactivity and injuries, that's what worried me in this matchup the last time we broke it down, but he answered those questions with that Moicano win. Fiziev does have questionable cardio. He's going to be smaller. I don't see him initiating takedowns. I don't know why he would do that against RDA. And RDA just happens to be ridiculously durable, so I like RDA in this matchup. As I'm saying this out loud, I'm realizing how many freaking underdogs I have picked on this card, but I like him in this matchup. Plus 170 odds. I got a money line bet on him, but I recognize how insanely powerful and dangerous Rafael Fiziev is, and that will be nerve-wracking, but I got to go with the tried and true vet here. I'm going with Dos Anjos. What do you think, Jakey boy?
There's 3 things in my mind that kind of stick out in this fight. Number 1 is these odds are super disrespectful to RDA. Super, super, super disrespectful. Number 2, I think Fiziev's takedown defense is underrated as a whole. I think a lot of people that are picking RDA, and I'm not saying that you are one, but I'm saying a lot of people think, oh, RDA is just going to take this dude down and control him. I think his takedown defense is underrated. Number 3, I think that Moicano win is very inflated because that was like super, super short notice for Moicano. And I know that he came out and dominated that fight. He did exactly what he should have done to a short notice opponent. But Moicano kind of blew his load in the first round, said, let me just try and get this dude out of here. And then it was just a complete domination. I mean, they were talking about the corner should have stopped the fight, this and that. Hats off to RDA for doing what he needed to do, but that was a super, super, super short notice fight for Moicano. My pick for this fight is going to be Fiziev. Am I scared for it? Yes. I think that this is pretty much a pick'em fight because RDA is tough. He has the experience. He has the wrestling. If he's able to get the takedowns, he can definitely win this fight. Fiziev is just so dynamic as a striker and so dangerous that in those entries, he's going to have the answers for those questions. It's just whether he's going to have enough answers for enough questions that RDA brings. Meaning, is RDA going to be able to keep the pressure and keep coming before? Is he going to be able to keep coming before getting knocked out? If he's able to keep doing that and withstand the knockout shots from Fiziev, he can definitely win this fight. Fiziev, regarding his cardio, he's a guy that talks about, I train harder than anyone. Nobody trains harder than me. It's not I don't train hard enough and that's why I get tired. It's I love fighting. He talks about it, especially in that Bobby Green fight, because I think that was the biggest question mark, was the third round of the Bobby Green fight. He was sucking wind, and Bobby Green looked fantastic in that third round. But Fiziev basically said, I train harder than anyone. I have the cardio to do it. It's just I love fighting so much. When I get in there, I just go, and I go, and I go, and I need to learn to pace myself. It'll be very interesting knowing that this is 5 rounds. If he comes out and isn't himself, right? Because a lot of his success is because he is that guy. He is that guy that throws hard, that throws big pressure, that throws those big shots. And if he comes out and tries to pace himself and RDA is able to work through those shots because he's not throwing the big power early, now all of a sudden you didn't throw that power early, you didn't throw that volume early, and you're still tired because you were taken down by RDA in the first, second, third rounds, and now you definitely don't have anything to give and you don't have anything to show in the first 3 rounds because you weren't doing it. So it's going to be interesting to see Fiziev's game plan coming into this, because he does train hard, but if he gets caught up in those moments where he's throwing hard and all of a sudden he's gassing and sucking air, he's going to be in big, big trouble. If you're RDA, you can't stand in front of Fiziev. That's why a lot of people just stand in front of him, and that's where they get caught. You have to be all the way in. They talk about all the way in or all the way out. You have to either be real inside of him, trying to take him down, or you're going to be in big, big trouble. So to wrap this all up, my pick is Fiziev. I think he's able to find the shots that he needs to find to withstand the takedowns from RDA. I think his takedown defense is underrated in that regard. But I don't like the odds. I might look for the 5.5 on Dos Anjos. I think it's or the plus 5.5. I think it's minus 200. I think the value play is definitely in Dos Anjos because of the odds the way they are. But my pick for the fight is going to be Fiziev. But I don't love it, guys. I don't love it. But he is going to be my pick.
Yeah, I mean, definitely a close fight. Should be a pick 'em. I think the general public agrees this should be closer to a pick 'em. Even people confident with Fiziev probably agree it's not a 2-1 type spot. So I've already got that money line bet on Dos Anjos. I don't know which way this line's going to move. It could go. I don't know, because all the arguments are valid. Fiziev is a killer, but Brad Riddell was just put out again. And maybe that takes a little bit away from Rafael putting out Brad Riddell. Like, oh, Jalen Turner also put him out. It's hard, it's hard to say what's going to happen to this line, but I'm on RDA, you're on Fiziev, but we both agree this is a close fight. And DraftKings, I'm definitely going to have RDA in my lineup.
Yeah, I think he might be in mine too. And people were talking about maybe this being a double up play. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, maybe. But I think that RDA is probably the best value on the card. And watch him like get knocked out in the first round or something after that. But that $7,200 is really, really good value for a 5-round fight on a guy with the credentials in wrestling of RDA for sure.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, obviously. And he can obviously get flatlined in the first 5 seconds with somebody like, Fiziev. So this is a dangerous fight. It's a fun fight. What are you laughing at?
That was good. No, your comment. That was good. Hats off.
Well, anybody who's not in the comments section, somebody said, how could you guys pick Dos Anjos? He's 40. But I had his age on the screen. It literally said 37. So in the live chat, I said, can you not read? His age is right there, and it's not 40. And he said, well, obviously he's almost 40. And I said, well, 3 years. I can't imagine how long you tell people your shkuvats is. You're just adding 3 like it's no big deal. Anyway.
I think that's a good number to add. If you're going to add 3 is a good number.
Yeah, I bet.
Like when I add 3 inches, like I tell people I'm 6'3". Yeah, I tell people I'm 6'3". I add 3 inches to my
you tell
to
people
my height.
you're 6
Tell people I'm
foot.
6'3".
That's way more than 3. Anyway. $7,200. I love Dos Anjos in my lineup. But listen, if you guys are positive that Fiziev is going to knock him out, which it's a hard thing to be positive about given the slate of people that have not knocked out Dos Anjos, spend the $9,000. I'm not going to do it. And then Monkey Knife Fight Strike Line, 98 to 121. Ah, damn, man. 121 strikes from Fiziev can do some real damage. I don't know what to do with this Monkey Knife Fight Strike Line. I'm not going to touch it. What do you think?
I think it's a more and more. I think these boys get after it.
Yeah, you know what? I might go look at that. Well, Bobby Green didn't threaten takedowns, though. I'll have to look a little bit at Fiziev's numbers because I obviously he's going to be defending takedowns more than he's ever had.
He's had some offensive takedowns in some fights as well. It'd be interesting if he came out and shot a blast double just to throw off RDA.
I always say wrestle a wrestler. Why wait? It's easier to finish a takedown than it is to defend one. And 100%. RDA is a phenomenal.
We've been wrestling our whole lives. We get it.
Absolutely,
we get it.
RDA is a phenomenal BJJ guy, but it's not 2001. You're not throwing triangles off your back anymore. That doesn't matter anymore. Now it's all about control. I'm convinced. Control, position, scrambles. Anyway, you guys want $50 free? You know what to do. We want picks.com/bets. Sign up with any one of our 5 betting partners, make a deposit, and we send you $50 as a thank you. Do you have any last words for the people before I hang this up and go nurse my hangover?
No. I think that the lock of the week video tomorrow. It's I think I picked 4 or 5 underdogs, but I don't really love anyone for lock of the week. I know you're on some. We're really actually really split this week.
One of us is going to have a miserable week,
and it's not going to be me. So I'll tell you that. You've already started off your week a little bit miserable, and I'm looking good. Nothing feels as good as how good I look. I'll tell you that.
Okay. All right. Anyway, guys, thanks for hanging out. Join the free Discord. We don't charge for it. It costs nothing. Go there, share your picks, share your bets. Let's all work together to take money from the man. The link is in the description. We'll see you guys later this week for the rest of our content.